Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Path of Exile 2 video here. Today we are going to be taking a look, finally reached tier 15 maps. As you can see here, we're just starting the quest. So we are going to go ahead and run a map here. I found a nice little area to farm with a really high concentration of waystones. So I've got these 6 activated. This map has some decent stuff on it, fairly easy, tier 15, really no downside for my build since I am using, oh gosh, what is it called? Resolute technique. So we're gonna go ahead and show you what this looks like with a full armor strength build character. So my base armor is about 11k, little over 11k. When I've got full stacks of scavenged plating, it's close to 17k. I also have glancing blows, so I have max block, but it only blocks half the damage. So when I do block, basically it makes my armor about twice as effective against physical attacks. I also have Blade Catcher, which I do think that if you're playing an armor character, this node is probably a must-have node, because you're going to defend with 200% of your armor, so you're tripling your armor against critical hits. That's going to greatly help with getting overwhelmed from physical damage, just if you understand the mechanic on how armor works to negate physical damage. So the reason why I'm making this video again is just a follow-up to the response, and again this is a tier 15 plus 1, so this is level 80, but a response to Kripp. Again, I'm a big fan of his. He made a video a while ago saying armor was really bad, basically, and then I'm not sure if he saw my video or not, but it kind of seemed like one of his last videos may have been a little bit in response to it, because he basically made like the same build that I have, just as an energy shield character, using that that one unique that gives you 50% of your life as energy shield. And then he said, you know, armor's not actually bad when you use it to recharge your energy shield, because apparently there's some nodes on the passive tree that you can have your increase to armor. Those nodes also apply to like energy shield recharge rate at a certain percent. But in Kripp's first video that I originally responded to, and then a lot of people commented on it, oh, just wait till you get till tier 15 maps, like, you know, you're gonna get one shot, like it's impossible to survive as an armor HP character. Yeah, granted, like, you know, I've dropped below max health a couple times so far. But I'll show you something here in just a second once I get to like a lull here in the killing, to where I can comfortably open up my inventory. So, oh, never mind. I wonder if anyways, never mind on that. I did have an omen that would heal me to full health if I ever reached like low health, and I guess I finally must have used that earlier, or I accidentally put it back in my stash. But that's what I was going to show you. So I've had this omen in my inventory for quite a while now, but I may have used it on a map previously. and just not been aware of it. So I was gonna point that out, that like I've never even reached low life. I've not actually died at all on this character since, you know, basically like tier 2 maps maybe. Just because as I was getting into maps and was dying, and most of the deaths were due to like not having capped elemental resists yet, and having 0 chaos resist. But I was realizing like, hey, in order to progress through maps, like dying, like I'm almost approaching it like hardcore now, because dying is so detrimental to your map progress in terms of like losing the map completion, losing basically the entire map, and losing like 15% of your current like XP for your level. So I did not want to die, basically. So in terms of like not dying, the build has been doing very well. I also think the damage is pretty good, like compared to Kripparian's build. And granted, he's playing solo self-found, so you know, it's a little harder to get the damage you need as a solo self-found character, just because you have to acquire all of the items on your own without trading. But I will say that the weapon I have currently, I did craft myself, so you know, and I got pretty lucky in terms of what I crafted, and I'll show you that here in just a second. So I was able to craft this very good weapon, not like best in slot, but definitely would be very expensive to get an upgrade, and the upgrade would maybe be like 20%, 10 to 20% better, so it's very close to a best in slot. But yeah, so just showing you, you know, and we'll take a look here when I get to a boss too, because there is a boss in this map. Finally, it really takes you a long time to progress to the point where you start getting map points that apply like outside of just the main Atlas tree. I think this is going to be the boss here. Oh yeah, we got this fat hog. So trying to get a little bit of rage built up. Alright. So I can just kind of like base tanker. But yeah, I mean that damage is alright. Feels really good to do. Unfortunately, these are like the only situations where I can even use supercharged slam, is when I'm fighting a boss. I wish that they would kind of like retool the ability a little bit, because it doesn't do enough damage when you just do one charge to make it usable compared to like Stampede. And anything that you would charge it up, like if you charge it up, basically you have to fully charge it to, like I've got 20% quality on it, so it has 5 stages. Basically, if I don't charge it to 4 or 5 stages, Stampede is just almost always better, especially versus trash. So we got a couple more map boss points. Oh, and that was a +1 map boss as well. So I don't know exactly how much more difficult that makes them, but it's something, I guess. I'm not really sure, like, so you can get 10 points. So I guess you're always doing +1 map boss difficulty. Not really sure what's better. I think I'll probably go with Essence. I'm kind of thinking, you know what, that would actually, like, if you go Essence here, and then pick, like, a couple of these, you could get, you're going to have at least one Essence, like, per map with a boss in it, and then you could get, like, an additional boss, and then have them drop extra Essence. Like, I'm kind of thinking that essence crafting, like, yeah, it's not going to be, you know, there's no guarantees, but you can at least get the first 2 mods you want and then just, like, slam the item. I'm almost to the point in the game with, like, the amount of currency I'm getting that,
You won't escape!
then I might just start doing that. Trying to, like, craft some, like, in-game items, and, you know, either save it for alternate characters, or, you know, start crafting like jewelry or something, and then selling like whatever is worth selling. But yeah, here I'll just I guess I'll let stuff hit me. So I mean, there's some chaos damage there, so I don't really want to eat that damage. But yeah.
My satchel is full.
But yeah, definitely not getting one shot.
Fortune favors.
So I really, like, I would be fine if they buff armor. Like, I hope that they do. But here's, like, my thoughts on the state of the game. I think basically that Energy Shield is in a better place than Life. And I think we feel like, because when you look at the 3 defense types, you've got Armor, Evasion, Energy Shield. Energy Shield feels better because you get such a large life total. I don't think armor is necessarily bad. I think that life total is not as good compared to Energy Shield. And I think that we then, people are comparing the Energy Shield to armor, since it's a defense, instead of actually to, like, what the real problem is that life is not able to get to as large of a total as it can, or as it should, just because there's, like, basically no % increase to life. Like, this is the only one that's possible for me to get, and it's only 3%. But it should, I think it'll push me up over into the 4,000 territory, so I'm getting it anyways, because it's a little extra, like, you know, it's extra life. And then I'll probably pick up more strength. But yeah, and, you know, and PoE 1 was in a similar state at one point in time, because everybody was using Calms when it gave, like, plus 1,000 HP, just because it was, like, the only way, really, to make your life character viable. And then they nerfed Calms, and then they added a bunch of % life increase nodes more into the tree, you know, and the joke at the time was Path of Life nodes. And then we kind of got to a point where Energy Shield and Life were both very viable. Life was more of, you know, a sustain, like, option, and Energy Shield was more of, like, that high hit point total option, where, you know, the weakness to Energy Shield typically, generally, was it could not, you know, sustain. So if you were taking a lot of small hits, or you were dealing with, like, damage over time or burning ground, unless you had, you know, pretty big investments, and you had, like, Zealot's Oath, which makes your life regen apply to Energy Shield, or you know, you had energy shield like Ghostwrithe, I believe is what it was called. So you had ES leech for your life. Like there were ways you could build around it, but it was like a very big investment and not at all easy to go that route and at the same time have the damage that you need. So I do think that armor is not anywhere near as bad as it's been made out to be. If life was better, I think that armor would feel much better than it currently does. Even though to me it feels pretty good. I would say though that without the shield, it would feel really bad, and that's probably, you know, where Kripp's criticism was coming from. But at the same time, he was playing, you know, I forget the ascendancy of the witch, but the one that stacks life. And so he was stacking life and armor. I don't know how high of a life pool he had. I would be surprised if it was like significantly more than what I have. But if I was not using a shield and I only had about 12,000 armor, like I think I would feel very squishy as well. And the big part of that too, and I don't even think it's really armor, you know, physical damage that's doing a lot of damage. I think it's chaos, and I think it's spells. And what the shield does in PoE 2 is not only does it affect physical damage, but it also affects spells. So having the shield and being able to have like max, oh my gosh, max like spell block as well. Like when you think of that in PoE 1 terms, and like yeah, PoE 2 is a different game, but I have, you know, a 75% chance to take, like I basically have 75% spell suppression from PoE 1, so I'm taking like 50% damage from spells, and that's pretty insane when you think about it, like in terms of PoE 1. And then my armor is being essentially doubled against any physical damage that I block, because I'm only taking half the, like let's say I take a $10,000 hit, not dollar, a 10,000 damage hit from a monster, which I don't even think they go that high. So like I think in Kripp's video the example he used was like a 5,000 damage physical hit. Was one of the like biggest physical hits in the game. And if you had like, I forget how much armor, you could about half that, like it was around 20k. So if I block that hit, which I have a 75% chance to, then I'm only taking 2,500 damage, and then my armor is going to basically almost fully negate that hit. If I block it, and then like let's say I have full stack, so I've got 17k armor, and I don't even have that high of armor on some of my pieces of gear. Like I could easily push my armor with oh hell yeah, oh shit, okay, those dynamite explosions, I don't know what damage type it is, but like any map I've done with those guys, like it seems like it does way more damage than it should. But anyways, like we just got a divine, so that was pretty legit. I think that's only the second divine I've found. I have got pretty lucky with some of my rewards from Delirium. I have a few of the Delirium orbs that are worth like multiple divines. I'm keeping them though for right now. I just don't really, you know, I haven't anointed anything yet. Maybe after I anoint something I'll sell them, but I also am just kind of the player. Like I do have more of a solo self-found mindset. Like I generally only tend to like turn to trading if I absolutely have to. So if I can just throw it in my stash and hold on to it, eventually like I'll use it. So we're just about done with the map here. It says there's 4 monsters left if they're not over here. Yeah, so we've got basically the map cleared. So first tier 15 down. Definitely, you know, not at any risk of being one shot. I mean, I guess granted, like, if Kripp only had, you know, 2,000 or 2,500 health and no shield, like, that would not feel good as, like, a health and armor character. And playing a witch, like, I'm assuming you're playing at range, or you have minions or something. So probably, like, letting stuff surround you and swarm you is not a good idea, obviously. But yeah, I mean, it's just hard to really say. But I think the biggest issue currently in the game for, like, a pure strength or just, like, HP based character is that there's no HP nodes on the tree. And I get what they were going for here, because they wanted to avoid the path of life nodes, because it was, like, kind of limiting when you basically 80% or more of the nodes you were taking in PoE 1 was, like, life. It was like life and then traveling, and then all the cool stuff that you would want to take, like, you could only get a small percentage of those and still have, like, an effective character that would not just, like, get one shot in the game. And so my approach to this character, when I realized that there was no life nodes, was to just take as much strength as possible, because, I mean, strength gives you a lot more base life in PoE 2 than it does in PoE 1. So that's where I came up with the idea for this character. And also with, like, Giant's Blood, I was going to have a ton of strength anyways, and then this node here, getting some damage from your strength, also seemed like it made sense for the build, plus, like, stacking all these in percent increased attributes nodes. So I have about 750 strength at the moment. I can probably get that higher, but I think it's going to be tough to get significantly more than, 4 or 4,500 HP. I'll go ahead and show you the gear here now, so you can kind of see what we're working with. Most of my gear has pretty good life rolls, and I tried to get as much strength on the gear as I could, strength or just all attributes, because of, like, gem requirements. So yeah, most everything has some life and some strength. So that's currently the gear. Like, there's a few pieces of gear where I could maybe squeeze out another 50 or so life, 50 to 60 life. But even with that, like, that's only gonna, like, give me another couple hundred points, hit points. I'm curious to know if there's really any characters that have got up to, like, 5k HP, aside from, like, the Gemling Legionnaire, because I think one of his nodes gives him, like, increased bonuses from base stats, so maybe they can push, like, a higher life total potentially. But I really like hulking form. It just gives you a ton of, like, everything. So that was, like, hulking form feels really good to me. Once I got it, it was just a huge boost to everything. So really, really cool, I think. But this, this is currently the build. I'll make an update, like a build update at some point. But just to give, like, my kind of final thoughts here on just this debate, I guess, on how armor is. Like I said, I think it's more the life total Like if we could get up to a 5 to 7k HP character without, you know, too much difficulty, I think life would be in a really good place. Regardless of whether you're playing armor or evasion. But right now I think the biggest offender is that unique item that gives you 50% of your life as like energy shield. There's even a helmet that does that too. I haven't really seen too many people using it. This one here, 30% of max life is extra maximum energy shield. So if you were to use this helmet and that chest piece, you could basically, you know, have 80% of your life as energy shield. And then if you took like energy shield nodes, you could get a huge total. The only downside to this is that 25% of the damage you take bypasses the energy shield. But if you're a hybrid character and you have good like life regen or just like leech or whatever, I've played a character like that because there was a similar item in PoE 1, and it almost like in a way made me more survivable because I could kind of tap into I was using mind over matter and that like 25% bypass energy shield. So the damage that would bypass the energy shield was then reduced by mind over matter by 50%. So it wasn't as huge of a drain on my mana pool. And then I was able to basically just like cut the damage my character took by, you know, a very large percentage. I'm not going to try and break out the math in my head here, but like I think if I took 100 damage hit for just like the sake of making the math easier, and then I'll be able to figure out the percentage. So if I took 100 damage hit, 75 would go to ES, and then 25 would go to life, and then that 25 was just basically half of it absorbed by my mana. So it was like basically like a 12.5% less damage taken modifier for all damage. So as long as I didn't get one shot, like it was a huge boost to my survivability, because there's not a lot of defensive options outside of like fortify, and I even was using fortify as well on that character. So it was a really good build. I really had fun with it. It was one of my like favorite builds that I came up with on my own. I was using that that unique saintly chain mail. I forget what it was, but it like gave you a bunch of chaos damage for like as extra. It was like percentage of your elemental damage is like extra chaos damage or something. I don't know. Can't remember exactly what it was, but I was doing like a fire slam build. I don't know, but it was pretty sweet. It was pretty sweet. Anyways, I digress. But yeah, so if we could get higher life totals, and what I would like to see is if they don't want the percent life on the tree, I've seen some gear that has percent increased life, and I don't know what all it can spawn on in terms of gear. I'm actually gonna check right now while I'm talking. Like I'm kind of thinking I've only seen it on an amulet, but if it